What's up? What's up? What's up? We back again today. I had to dance on them a little bit. I'm very excited for what I'm going to be talking about today. Today, I'm going to be talking about an African queen. We always talk about different African kings, and we have to understand that African queens were very, very vital to the history of Africa. And African queens were very much real, and they were no joke. So today, we're going to be talking about Queen Nzinga. Queen Nzinga was born in 1583, and she was born literally with the umbilical cord around her neck, twisted around her neck. And when she was born, the lady who gave her birth said that this symbolized strength and, which the Bantu people believe in. And Queen Nzinga also had one brother and two sisters. And her dad loved her very much, and he took her into his battles. When he was going off to fight, he would take her with him, and so she had like very good training from the beginning of her life on tactician, like war tactician, and war strategies and things like that, and as well as kept her around while he ran the kingdom. And now, during this time period that we're talking about, Queen Nzinga, this was around the obviously the slave trade time period. So in the 16th century, the Portuguese positioned themselves in West Africa, in the slave trade, and this was threatened at the time by England and France. So as a result, the Portuguese basically shifted from West Africa as far as the slave trade, and they shifted their activities down to like the Congo area, the Angola area, Southwest Africa area, and the Portuguese, when they first came to, the Bantu people's, area, the Portuguese mistaked the ruler for Angola. So for the name of the country, the Portuguese called the land Angola, and this is how it has the present day name Angola, instead of understanding that Angola meant like the ruler or the king. And like I said, this is the name that's still known today, which is Angola, and that's what they mistaken the name for Angola. So it's still an African word, but they just mixed it up from a ruler, and they thought it was a country. And so, but it really was different. The ruler was Angola and not the country. So I hope that makes sense. And the Portuguese, when they were there, they encountered the brilliant and courageous Queen Nzinga, who was determined never to accept the Portuguese conquest of her country in slavery, and she just did not accept that, and she didn't want to accept it. And Nzinga was a great stateswoman. She was a very, very good military strategist too, as well. And in 1617, the Portuguese began an aggressive campaign against the Kingdom of Dongo, and the Portuguese troops invaded the capital of Luanda, and as you know, that's the capital of Angola today. And Luanda, was when the Portuguese took over Luanda, they forced King, Angola Bandi, which was Nzinga's brother, to flee from the area, and thousands of the Dongo people were taken as prisoners. So her brother was the king at the time, and Nzinga tried to be queen, but since her brother was fully of royalty or royal blood, meaning that his dad was king and his mother was queen, and Nzinga had no chance with the people, seeing her mom was just a lady in the kingdom who the king mated with, basically, and she was not royalty. And soon after, her brother sent her to speak with the Portuguese. After his defeat, he passed away. So when Queen Nzinga was meeting with the Portuguese governor, and this was recorded by European artists, especially the Dutch that were in the meeting at the time. And it's legendary. This is one of the legendary meetings in histories of the African confrontations with Europeans, and how Queen Nzinga went about it. Now, Queen Nzinga was representing her brother, and in Angola, and the Queen Nzinga arrived in Luanda in all her royalness. She rode up like a queen. She was very royal. She had her people with her, and she rode up like how a queen would, especially how an African queen would. And when she entered the room, Queen Nzinga observed that only there was one seat, and this one seat belonged to the governor, the Portuguese governor. So she quickly summoned one of her women to come over here. And when her woman came over there, one of the women that was from her kingdom came over there, she quickly fell to her hands and knees and became in Nzinga's seat. And this was like very shocking for people, because it was like basically she was thinking fast on her feet, and the people were very loyal to her, and she was trying to do the best for her people. So it wasn't symbolized as her looking at somebody beneath her. It was symbolized as we have to do what we have to do, and if this is all male dominant meeting, and on top of that they're from European countries and I'm from African country, from African kingdom, then we got to do what we got to do, and we got to think fast on our feet. So once she did that, the governor could never gain advantage after that in the meeting, and this quick thinking on her feet, as well as just stunning the governor for like how intelligent and how smart she was and how quick she would answer things and things of that nature. This resulted in a treaty of equal terms, and Queen Nzinga basically outwitted the Portuguese at the time. And after speaking with the Portuguese, Queen Nzinga returned as her brother had died. So when she returned, her brother had passed away, and she declared herself queen, and basically had told the people that she had talked to the Portuguese and had come to agreement on a treaty. But the people still did not accept her, Queen Nzinga, because she was 100% royal blood. But with very great persuasion that Queen Nzinga had, she persuaded the Bantu people to for her to be their queen. And at the time, soon after, the Portuguese, they basically fell out on the treaties. They didn't follow it. They had a big thirst for slaves, especially going to Brazil. And, they just fell through on the treaty, and they basically started to capture people again and put, other black people in slavery. And, when this happened in 1641, the Dutch, working in an alliance with the Kingdom of Congo, seized Luanda, and Queen Nzinga soon sent the Dutch an embassy and concluded an alliance with them, and the Portuguese, who continued, against the Portuguese, who continued to occupy the end parts of the land. So once the Dutch and the Kingdom of Congo, took Luanda back over from the Portuguese, Queen Nzinga went in there and she struck a deal with the Dutch. And hoping to recover the lost land with the Dutch, she moved her capital to Kambanga instead of Luanda, and she soon was defeated by the Portuguese army after, but was unable to follow up with another victory after she, was beaten by the Portuguese. So soon after, she was defeated by the Portuguese one more time. Then Queen Nzinga then led a siege against the Portuguese again, but after recapturing Luanda, the Portuguese soon recovered the city. So basically, Queen Nzinga won the first war with the Portuguese, but then she lost the second war and lost land, a lot of land actually, with the second campaign that she went against the Portuguese, or went to the Portuguese with. And so she resisted the Portuguese well into her 60s, and even into her 70s, and personally leading troops into battle when she's 60 and 70 years old. That's crazy. Like, she was a queen in all sense of the manner, in the word. She was basically like very strong. Even in her 60s and 70s, most people are not being generals and queens and leading troops into war. So she was very strong. And in 1657, she was very, very tired of the long struggle of the war with the Portuguese. So Nzinga signed a peace treaty with Portugal. And after the wars with Portugal ended, she attempted to rebuild her nation, which was seriously damaged. And this was seriously damaged due to the ongoing conflict with the Portuguese and other European countries, and the over farming of the land to support the kingdoms and things of that nature. So Queen Nzinga unfortunately died in 1663, and her death accelerated the Portuguese occupation in the interior of Southwest Africa. So there was basically one or two rulers after her, but they weren't as strong as her, they weren't as cunning as her, they weren't as intelligent about the situation as her. So the Portuguese, with haste, started to take more and more slaves and occupying, that area. And she basically, Queen Nzinga basically made the beginning of the front that lasted for almost 200 years before the Portuguese in the 20th century, actually got a grasp onto Angola and that area around there, when it was the kingdom and it wasn't Angola. So today, if you ever, go to Angola, you know, Angola has a big statue of her, and you know, today she's remembering Angola for her political and diplomatic awareness and acuteness, and just how intelligent she was. And you know, she's also remembered by her for her great wit and her intelligence, as well as her brilliant military tactician skills. And in time, Portugal and most of Europe have come to respect her for the most part, at least the historians have. And a major street in Luanda is named after her. And there is, like I said, there's a statue downtown on that main street. And this was dedicated to her in 2002. And this is dedicated to her by President Santos to celebrate the 27th anniversary of the independence of Angola. And Angola women to this day still are often married near the statue, and they especially get married on Thursdays and Fridays. So that was a history lesson on one of the most strongest queens, Queen Nzinga, for all the Africans in the diaspora in the Western Hemisphere, African Americans and Jamaicans, Haitian, Afro-Brazilians, especially Afro-Brazilians should really know this story. And you know, this is one of the queens that was fighting for us, you know, and trying to fight against slavery and fight for us not to be sold into slavery, and you know, her people that were obviously taken more so to Brazil. If you didn't know, Brazil has the second biggest black population outside of Africa, which the first is Nigeria in Africa. So that is another lady that we learned about, another strong queen. She was very cunning. I love Queen Nzinga. You know, basically, you know, I want to say thank you, Queen Nzinga, for everything you've done for us, for all our ancestors. You know, and I hope wherever you're at, and you know, you rest in peace, and you know, you're living good, and your energy has transferred to the new area and where you live at right now. And thank you once again for everything that you've done for us. As always, like I say, yo, stay African, one love. And to all my people out here, may 100 years of gold come your way. I'm giving you a little luck at the end. So to all our ancestors, thank you for what you've done. One love. I'm out. Peace.